So, hello everyone. We will get started in maybe a minute or so. So, I'm just wondering, before we start, is there anybody who would like to ask any initial questions or anything about anything else? So, if not, I will just get started with the basic introduction. So, hello everyone, welcome to this weekly session on simulating power electronics using Python. So, as I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, but I am the creator of the open source circuit simulator Python Power Electronics, and that is one of the reasons why I started this session, so that we could have an online session of those who wanted to learn simulations and either using Python or generally using simulations and were looking for a circuit simulator. So this series is in general a part of an online series to help students complete online courses. We do see a lot of online courses, and I too am a creator of online courses on the MOOC website Udemy. And even though there are a lot of online courses and there are many people registering for these online courses, the success rate of completion is still quite low. So therefore, one of the reasons for having these kind of group learning activities is to be able to increase the completion rate and therefore the success rate of those who actually are able to complete these courses and are also able to use them for their own projects. So this session is also associated with the Canadian startup Howdy, the founder of whom Darius is also on this call. So at this point of time, I'll just let Darius maybe speak a few words if he wants about the philosophy behind Howdy, and then I will get started.
Excuse me. Thanks, Shiv. It's really nice to meet everyone. As Shiv mentioned, online course completion rates are really low, and we believe one of the reasons is because it doesn't solve for the person who learns alone. As you know, learning is difficult. Learning oftentimes requires some motivation. It requires a support network. And so the purpose of this group is to provide that support. And so, we hope through these sessions that they can be as interactive as possible. We know that everybody has different learning and teaching styles, but if people have questions or have any doubts about the material or things related to electrical engineering, then obviously we want this to be an open discussion. Dr. Shiv Kumar also has another group that he teaches, Python programming. So it's very similar to the format of this group, except that it's focused more on sort of the mechanics of Python programming. And so if you're interested, you can sign up for that. The last thing I'll say is this platform is currently being offered for free. And so if you have maybe a study group or you have, you'd like to interact and collaborate with other people that have similar interests, then please feel free to create a group on your own or to look at some of the other groups that we offer. We offer right now, there's web development groups, there's for those interested in 3D printing, there's a 3D printing group. There is a React group, which is a web development framework. So a lot of different technical groups aimed around really helping each other, asking questions, and supporting one another. So any questions you can ask about that, but really great to meet you guys. The last thing I'll say is feel free to keep your video. We know that some of you are around the world, and so it might be just have an itch in my nose. It might be late, so you may not want to put on your camera, but I think in the beginning, showing your face helps build trust and sort of camaraderie with other people. And so, you know, obviously you're not forced to show your video, but don't be shy, and you know, we look forward to meeting you.
All right. So thanks, Darius. And just to continue with this, so as such, as I said, this is not really a tutorial session. So it's not just me going to be teaching everyone. This is a group learning effort. So this is going to be driven more by you than by me. And that is also very important, because I do believe that since I already have online courses and there are many other online courses, there is no real need for me to just keep talking, because if you just want to hear me talk, you can just watch the videos itself. You don't have to come here. So there are two ways to do this, and I would like to give some amount of time for both of them. The first is that if you are a student of a Udemy course, which could be any course, it would be my course or anything else, and you would like to ask some questions related to power electronics, you are welcome to do so, and I will give some time in the beginning if in case you have any doubts about my course or any other course or anything in general about power electronics. After that, we could do a group simulation that is related to power electronics. Now, I can only think of a few topics, so we can start with something very simple. We can start with something like a diode rectifier or maybe a thyristor rectifier, and depending on your requirements, we can start taking on more complex simulations. So we will do this every week, and for that matter, this video is being recorded, so these recordings will be put up on my YouTube channel. In case you do miss, please, that's not a problem, you can just watch the videos later, and in case you would like to also share them, please do so. So the idea is we'll be doing it every week, we'll be doing bits of it every week. So to start off with, I can only ask if anybody would like to volunteer any suggestions for a power converter or any other topology that you would like to simulate. Feel free to add that suggestion right now.
A DAB would be a better idea.
What is it?
DAB, dual active bridge.
A dual active bridge, okay. Anyone?
Or any PWM involving the phase shifting PWM or some other complex modulations, because that is what makes the simulation tough.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that everyone has a basic base. I mean, eventually I would like to take up complex topics with you, but it's just that I do not want to jump too fast. Make sure that everyone has some basic simulation skills. So I just want to know, like, is everyone comfortable with basic power converters? So yeah, I mean, I would request a bit of discussion. It's not really much use if it's just a few people talk. So I would like to hear from all of you, like, is there anything that you would like to do from your own perspective, depending on whether you're a student, whether you're working, you find some particular topologies that you would like to do. Feel free to do so, because we have 1 hour in the beginning since we're just getting started with this session. It would be good if we kind of get to know what everyone is doing, and therefore we'll have a better idea of what we would like to do.
Shiv, I'd be curious if you could talk about how you see this group unfolding. So today is the first. I know you've done some in the past, but what do you think is the best format going forward? I know are you going to be doing like code-alongs? Do you want to start based on a curriculum? How do you see this the program being organized?
Yeah, so the way I would see it is that we would choose several different circuit topologies that we would like to simulate. So for example, somebody suggested a dual active bridge. So a dual active bridge is a particular topology, and we could start off with all of us getting together, deciding, like kind of debating how we would simulate it. We would then start simulating it, and this would be a start process. So for example, we would come up with a topology, we would look at control strategies, we would research. So it's not just me just telling you how to do it, but it's also about going out and finding information. So for example, how would you simulate a particular topology? How would you control that topology? So these are the things which I would look at. How would you start from scratch? So this is how I would look at this particular session, that this would be code along, and I would say that it doesn't even have to be code along from just me. It could be like we could just meet next week and say, okay, where have we reached? And maybe somebody says, okay, you know what, I tried to do this, that didn't work. So then that person gets a chance to share a screen. We go through his circuit, we try to figure out what probably didn't work, things like that. That's the idea behind this. So this could even be something like a project that you have, or let's say an assignment that you have, a part of your course curriculum, something like that, and you would like to simulate it. So that's a potential. So this is something that we would do. We would not be able to complete it, of course. We would stop this week, find out like what are the things we could do for the future, come back next week, and then take a stock as to, okay, now this is where we are, where has everyone reached, does anyone have any issues, things like that. That's the idea. So this is more like a practical session where we will learn by doing something. That's the idea. We will learn by taking on a particular topology and working on it bit by bit every week. So that's how I see
Are
this.
there any prerequisites for course?
No, like I said, I just would like to know what is everyone's level. Like, is everyone comfortable with basic power electronics, with pulse width modulation? Like I said, we could start from the very basics. So we could start with just some simple circuits, just to get started, some very simple circuits, build a diode rectifier, build a thyristor rectifier, maybe 1 or 2 sessions, and then go on to more complex sessions. Like we could look at a PWM converter that could be used to interface a solar panel to the grid, something like that.
I guess you need to take a poll. No one is responding.
Yeah, I would. That's a thing. I would be nice if somebody, or at least I would like to hear how many. Okay, I'll just start with a few questions. How many are students currently? I would
I
request.
just completed my education.
Okay.
Okay, it's me, Robinson. I just graduated this year.
When you say graduated, was it a bachelor's, a master's?
Bachelor's.
Okay, great.
Electrical.
And who else?
I'm also a student.
Okay.
Who's speaking? Maybe we can go quickly around the group, and everybody can say their name. They can say if they're a student or if they're a professional, and then maybe quickly the level of this area. Maybe just quickly, 2-3 sentences. So, Shiv, do you want me to call out?
Yeah,
so
you can do that.
Maybe Robinson. I'm just going to go through the list here, and then I'll take some notes, and then we can discuss strategy afterwards. But maybe we'll just quickly go around. So, Robinson, could you quickly just introduce yourself and say what your level of knowledge is and why you're taking this group, why you're participating?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name is Robinson, and I just graduated. Did Bachelor of Electrical Engineering, and I came here basically because I am interested in electric vehicle battery management systems. So
Okay.
I don't know how the power flows with the help of embedded systems. So coding is one thing I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and listen, I'm just going to call out the names, and I want to say, I guarantee I'm going to get the names wrong with the pronunciation, so please don't be offended. So, let's say, and you can correct me too. So, Swapnika, can you just quickly say who you are and why you're taking this and your level of understanding?
Yes, hello, this is Swapnika Mishra, and I am into the final year of my graduation of electrical engineering. and the course came to us from our professor, and found this topic a new one, like using Python for simulation. So I have joined it.
Okay, cool. And then Hari Krishna Prasad.
He's actually talking from a long time, but his audio is not audible. Sound is not coming, bro.
Okay. Okay, so we'll come back to Hari. So, how about Nikhil? Nikhil? Okay. We'll come back to Nikhil. Rachet? Rachet? You want to introduce yourself really quickly? Okay. Shabham? Oh, were you going to say something, Rachet? Please. I saw your mute button going up. Okay. So, and Shabham?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm also in my final year of engineering, and actually we are working on a final year project which belongs to this power electronics sector only. So that's why I'm looking forward to learn something new. That's why I joined. Thank you.
Awesome. And Swapnali?
Yeah, this is Swapnali. I'm also in final year engineering, and my project is also related of making an inverter. So I want to study more about it, like how simulation is done and all.
Very cool. Adia? Adia?
It's Aditya, yeah, I guess. So,
Aditya? I'm sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm a engineering undergraduate, and actually I like power electronics, so I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, Mansi.
Hello, this is Mansi Bansode. I currently belong to final year electrical engineering. We also have a project, and due to current situations, we need to focus more on simulations than hardware. So I am here to improve my simulation skills. Thank you.
Excellent. Divya?
Good evening. I am a faculty working with electrical engineering department. I am looking forward for an open source software, dedicated one for power electronic simulations, so that I can use that for my students during their laboratory coursework.
Oh, awesome.
you.
So are you an instructor? Are you a professor?
Yeah, I'm an instructor with electrical engineering department.
Oh, wow. We're very lucky to have you. The students are very lucky to have you. In addition to having Shiv, this is great. So, yeah, please, any thought or feedback, keep coming.
Okay, thanks.
So, Charan? Okay. Mahir?
Power electronics using Python, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Manasi. Okay. Surya.
Hello, I'm Surya. I'm a first year postgraduate student, and I wanted to understand how we could integrate Python and simulate power electronic circuits. So that's why I joined, and Divya ma'am gave this reference. So I thought I'd see how it is.
Awesome. Thank you. Parth?
Hello. Am I audible?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm an undergraduate student right now. And I thought Python integrating into power electronics, I felt something new. That's why I came.
Awesome. Nicolesh?
Hi guys, my name is Niklesh. I'm from fourth year, undergraduate in electrical engineering. I have experience with Python for around a year or so. So I want to learn how to integrate Python into designing simulations.
Awesome. Came to the right place. Vivek. Okay. And Charan.
It's current, yeah. I have just completed my education, bachelor's and master's. I have a good understanding of power electronics, all the like even simulate to high level in MATLAB, Simulink, and other similar softwares. I'm looking for open software to integrate all these things.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
it.
Awesome.
That's the main purpose.
Okay. Fantastic. I hope that was helpful. Now
Yeah.
you get a sense of who
Yeah.
your students are, what their backgrounds are, and
Okay, so yeah, that sounds really good because at least now I know everyone is at least learning power electronics. So with that, I think we can take on, we don't have to go to a very basic circuit. Though I would like to do that just in this one lecture, just so that you get used to Python power electronics. Maybe from next time onwards, we can start with straight away a converter. So we can start with a converter with the objective of, let's say, power control. And then gradually we'll move on to something like figuring out how to interconnect, or let's say connect that inverter to a grid. So let's do that over a few weeks. Now I will be doing this every week, so there will be one next week. We might take a short break as I will be going on a vacation for a while, but I will be back again. So maybe there'll be a break of, let's say, 2 weeks, during which I won't be here. So now, first and foremost, what I will do is I will talk about how we can install Python power electronics. Now, I just want to know, like, has anyone already used Python power electronics, or is everyone new to it? All right.
I'm new to it.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I hope that if you're new to Python power electronics, at least you are well versed with Python and you've used something like Anaconda, or is that also a little new?
We have used Anaconda and familiar with PyPython notebooks.
Okay, good. All right. So what I'm going to do is, in case it is new to you, I'm just going to go over, I'm going to share my screen and I just show you some links about how you can get started. So all right. So the first step is we need Anaconda Python, right? So now there are different ways of getting Python, right? Like there are many solutions, but I would still say that I found this to be one of the best, right? Because one of the reasons is that this is available in every operating system. So it's available in Windows, it's available in Mac OS, it's available in Linux, right? I am a Linux user, but I have also used it in Windows, and it is, all the commands are perfectly compatible. That's one of the reasons why I use it, and I also recommend it. The only problem is it's a huge installer, so it's like almost 460 MB depending on what you're trying to use, but I would still say it's worth it, even if it takes, like, you have to start now and it takes the entire night to download. I would still say it is worth it, because this is one installation that has everything with it. So I would suggest go ahead and install. There's not much. If you're using Windows, you just have to click on the install button. If you're using Linux, there is a little more to it. I will just, in case you need help, I will just show you. I have my own YouTube link, so I'll just show you the link of how you should go about it. So if you go to playlists, I have several playlists. The most active ones are now the DC-DC Converter lecture series and the Learn Python webinar series. So this can be found in both. You can actually go to the Learn Python webinar series, and if you look, the very first one will show you how to install Anaconda in Windows, how to set it up, right? Now, besides that, I also have the DC to DC converter lecture series, where again I have, like, for example, several of them. So like there's simulating with a buck converter and many others, so you can check out these as well, right? But now I have already installed Anaconda, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new environment and I will install Python Power Electronics there. So let me just open a console. Now in my case, since I'm using Linux, I use a console. However, if you are a Windows user, then you can go to your start terminal, which is somewhere at the left bottom, and when you open that up, you can type Anaconda. There is an Anaconda folder. Within the Anaconda folder, there is an Anaconda prompt, and that Anaconda prompt will give you something like this, and it will give you exactly this. This base environment shows that this is the base. This shows that this is the base environment that comes with Anaconda. So when you install Anaconda, it already comes with a number of packages. Now what we are going to do is I'm going to create another environment only for Python Power Electronics, and I'm going to install Python Power Electronics there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to documents. Now I have several of them, and most of these are actually examples related to different webinars I've been doing, the Energy series webinar, Learn Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another directory, and I'm going to call this Online Power Electronics. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a new environment for Python Power Electronics. Now, if you need to know how to do it, you can just go and Google managing Conda environments, right? This link tells you everything you need to know about how you can manage a Conda environment. If, however, if you are already using my Udemy course, I have an entire lecture on how you can create environments and why you should create environments, things like that. If, however, you are not a student of my Udemy course, then you can just go to my playlist, that is Learn Python webinar series, and look at these two lectures, that is installing Anaconda and setting it up, right? Otherwise, you can just come and have a quick look here at these commands on how you can create an Anaconda environment. So what I will do is I will create a new one, Conda create name, right? Let's call this Online Power Electronics. Actually, this is a very long name. Let's call this Online P. All right. So with this, it will just create an environment. Now, if you're not sure what, if you're new to environments, an environment is basically like a virtual container where you can install packages in an isolated manner, right? So for example, the main advantage is when you have several projects in your system, and that is quite normal, like I have several projects. In that case, you need different versions of Python and you need different versions of different software. Now, to make sure that these don't start fighting each other, you create an environment and you install all your softwares within that environment. So this way you keep your project separate, right? So now this shows that the environment has been created, and you see this is how you have to activate this environment. That is, you just have to type this command. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it here. So let me clear the screen, and you see here now this appears Online PE, which means that this new environment is now active, right? Now, even though the environment is active, nothing has been installed. So for that, I'm going to go over to my web browser and type pythonpowerelectronics.com. So this is the web page for the Python Power Electronics Circuit Simulator. This is my web page, I created it. And here you can go to the download section, and you can always download the latest version. So if you are visiting this page after a long time, I may have released, like the latest release is on July 12th, right? Actually, this is wrong date. This is July 12th. I should probably change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this because this is the web app. I'm going to go to downloads because it and I'm going to take the latest version, that is this one which I downloaded, paste it here. All right, so I have basically downloaded the Python Power Electronics web application installer. Now there is also a command line interface, but unless you are very comfortable with command line, you are a hardcore Unix user, I would recommend that you use the web application, because then you can run your entire simulation through a web browser, right? Now I'm just going to unzip it, and you see now there is this folder. So I'll just stop for a minute because I've been talking for a while. Does anyone have any doubts about what I said just now? Okay, I'll keep going. So now, as I said, we've created an environment, right? And that is evident since we have this online PE in parentheses. But we have not installed any software, right? Now, to install the software, we use this requirements.txt file, right? Like for example, if I look at the contents of this, you see it lists out all the packages that I'm using. These are the packages that the Python Power Electronics software needs. So all I have to do is I have to say conda install, and I have to specify that file. For that I have to use -- file, which is saying that what comes is all in this file, right? So what I'm saying to Anaconda is install all the contents of this file requirements.txt, right? So now it will collect and download the packages. If the packages have not been downloaded before, they will download them. If they have been downloaded before, it will just pick it up from the local cache. In my case, it will pick out most from the local cache because I have been using this quite a bit. So for example, some will have been updated, but that's okay. So depending on how good your internet connection is, this may take a while. So while it takes some time, let me just stop sharing and go back to the screen would anyone have any doubts about what I said so far, or would anyone like to talk about something? Somebody is talking, but the volume is very low.
Sure, myself, Hari.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this Python Power Electronics is a new domain, or it's already?
This is a free and open source circuit simulator that I started back in 2012. So this was just a project which I started on the side. This became fully functional around 2015 to 2016. For the past 1 or 2 years, I have released it as a stable software. I use it for teaching power electronics.
What?
It's not very audible. I'm not sure.
Are you using any circuit simulation software like NGSpace?
I do not use any other software now. I have used PSCAD, I have used Plex, I have used PSIM, I have used MATLAB, that's Simplorer. I have used many of them. But for the past few years, I haven't used anything other than Python Power Electronics.
Okay, so you have developed it completely?
Yeah, it is mine.
Without maybe some background simulations, maybe you were integrating with some other software, and by taking into GUI, you are using Python. I don't like that.
Oh no, I was trying, actually I did look at some examples like LT-Spice or Modelica, but then I found that the effort required to integrate those will be equally huge. It might be just easier for me to just develop my own circuit simulator, because I had done something like this in the past as well. So this entire thing is written from scratch basically.
Yeah, it's good, and so it may be very valuable for us since I don't have any idea on program.
Okay, so let me just quickly go and check on the packages. It should be done soon. Yeah, so it's still going on. Does anyone have any other comment?
Is the video recorded? I'm facing like a really network problem. It will be recorded so I can refer it again.
Yeah, it will be recorded and it will be uploaded on YouTube. So I already posted the link for this YouTube. Just go to YouTube and look for Python Power Electronics. So I will create a new playlist called Online Power Electronics Learning or something like that. So this should be the first video there.
Okay, thank you. If possible, can you please create a group too so that we can learn about the upcoming webinars or whenever it's useful?
Sure, I already have one which I created for Python and data science, but I would suggest we could just add everyone to it. So maybe, I don't know, are you connected with me on LinkedIn or how is it?
Okay, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn.
Actually, or what I can do is I can edit the description of this video to add the link to the group so that you can kind of add your email, or rather I'll put a link of a form so you can add your email to the form, and I can then send you invites to the group. Maybe that will work.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot.
Okay, welcome. All right, so let me just check. Yeah, it's almost done, maybe a minute or so left. So any other quick doubts about it? Because again, like I usually talk about these things in detail in my Udemy course. If you watched it, you probably heard most of what I said. If you have not, then you're welcome to ask any questions. I'm sorry, you're not very audible.
But no.
A little better. No, still very, very, very low. Yeah, okay. No, I think you're fading in and out. Well, so it's almost done. I will share my screen and go back to my console. So as you can see, this is the end. It has downloaded several of them. Right? So it will usually see if there is a latest version and it will download it, and that's what it has done. The best part about using Anaconda is that if there is a dependency, so for example, if there is package A and package A needs package B, it will install package B and then install package A. So it takes care of all the dependencies. So it should be done fairly soon, and once it is done, we can then start with installing Python Power Electronics. It's also evening here in Germany, so this is probably a time when everyone is online, so that might also be affecting the time taken. but this is usually the last step because now it's executing the transaction. This is the actual final installation. So in the meantime, I'll just, since it is still going on, I will just talk about a little about the other thing, that is, if also you're interested in learning about the energy series, I have a DC to DC converter lecture series where I upload a video every week, and this is about most of the other converters. So I have covered the buck converter, I've covered the boost converter, I've covered the buck boost converter, the Chook converter, the SEPIC converter, and now almost done with the Zeta converter. So this is also something that I usually do almost every week. This is not an online session, but this is just videos uploaded every week. So if you are interested, you can also check out these videos. And
so
it's fine.
Have you also shown the ZVS and ZCS analysis?
No, I have not come to any resonant converters yet. This is just getting started. So these are the most commonly used DC to DC converters. After this, I will probably start with the isolated converters like flyback and everything else. Because these do not have resonance. So with this, we have installed the packages for Python Power Electronics. All right. So that is, we've installed whatever are the dependencies of Python Power Electronics. Now we need to set it up. Right. Now setting up is a one-time affair. So you got to do it only once, not every time. And when you set it up, all that means is that Python Power Electronics uses a database. Right. It uses a SQL database, and the beginning you have to set up that database. So there are a few commands, and I'm going to write that here. So you see there is a file called manage.py. This manage.py is the main launch file, right? So the first command that you have to do is you have to create the table structure of the database. So for example, we have to say Python manage.py make migrations simulations. This has to be written exactly the way. What that means is simulations is the name of the app. What I'm trying to say is create the table structure for the simulations app. You see simulations folder here. So this is what I need to do. And when I do this, it will create the table structure. So you should see it soon. So you see this is what it has done. These are all models. When you say model, it means a table. So there is a table for each and every element. So you see many of these are commonly used elements. Voltmeter, voltage source, thyristor, switch, resistor, diode. So there is a table for each and every component. All right. So now that this is done, the next thing we need to do is we need to create the database. So for that, again, we use this command python manage.py migrate, and you have to write it exactly as it is. Migrate will now create the database. So you see here it creates several other data tables, but it will most importantly it creates the tables for simulations. So now if I look, there is another file called simulation collection. This is the database of all the simulations that we'll be creating. Right? So this, again, as I said, this has to be done only once. You don't have to do it again and again, only once in the beginning. After that, once you've done it, you can only launch the circuit simulator. So for that, there is this command, run server. This is the command that you have to run every time when you want to launch Python Power Electronics, right? The other commands are only single ones that you have to do right in the beginning when you are setting up Python Power Electronics, right? So if I do this, you see it will give you this message stating that the server is running at this link. So all we have to do is copy this link and paste it in our web browser. And you see this is Python Power Electronics. So now we can do everything through a web browser. Alright, so I just want to stop for a minute. Does anyone have any doubts about what I did? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly create, you see there is a simulation library and there are no simulations that because we just installed it. So to get started with this, what we need to do is we need to create a circuit. Alright, so first we have to create a simulation. So let me just create a very basic, let's leave it as test case because we just want to try it out. And I have only 15 minutes left, so let me just use that. Now, the title is basically whatever is the name of your simulation. So it could be later a dual active bridge, it could be a solar inverter, it could be anything. In the description, you can write a more detailed description, right? The time duration is the total time for which you want to run the simulation. The integration time step is the time interval at which we are incrementing the simulation, right? Now, in most power electronics application, 1 microsecond is good enough, but in some applications, particularly things like resonant converters, high frequency converters, this would have to be much smaller, right? So for example, if your converter is 100 kilohertz, you cannot simulate at 1 microseconds. You would have to simulate at maybe 1 nanosecond or 1 picosecond, maybe something like that. All right. The time step of data storage is the time interval at which we are storing data for plotting purposes, right? So this will decide how smooth our plots are, right? I usually keep these two to be the same. All right. So as and how I generate data, I plot it. Now the output data file is the data name of the data file that I want to write my final data to, right? Now slicing the output file in the number of slices is an advanced concept. If you have a very large simulation, then you can break up your output file into pieces, right? And you can specify how many pieces you want. But that is only if you have a really large simulation. Now the last thing is very important, the directory with the circuit files. In Python Power Electronics, every project should have a separate directory, right? This is the working directory of that particular simulation. So for example, let me go and open my file browser. So I am now in online power electronics, right? So let me create a new folder called simulations, and inside simulations, let me create this new folder called just test, right? Now in test, let me create a circuit. Now in Python Power Electronics, when you want to create a circuit, you use a spreadsheet, right? So in Linux, I use LibreOffice. You can also use Microsoft Excel. You can use anything. So I will just go open LibreOffice. Now, when you create a spreadsheet, the advantage is we can express our circuit in almost a graphical way, but yet without using a GUI, right? So for example, let me just create a simple voltage source with a resistance and measure the voltage across it. So like for example, the way it works is you can just use wire elements to create the topology of your circuit. So for example, I'm just going to pull these wires . So I'm creating a loop and I'll create another branch where I'll measure the voltage. Alright. So now you see this is a kind of a bare wireframe of your circuit. Okay. Now I am going to save this file. Now when you save the file, it is very important here that you save the file as a .csv file. Now in Windows, if you're using Windows, you should use the ms-dos.csv format, right? There are several formats. Use the ms.csv format. In LibreOffice, you can use the text csv.csv option, right? Do not use the others. The circuit simulator cannot use the others. It has to be a .csv file. So let me choose .csv and put test. So now it will ask you, when it's a CSV file in LibreOffice, what should be the field limiter, what should be the text delimiter. The field, now comma CSV file means comma separated value file, which means this is a text file with all the columns separated by a comma. Now it is possible that you use others as well. You can use semicolon, colon, tab, space, but don't use any of them. Use only comma, right? So make sure your delimiter is a comma. The text delimiter can be anything. This is basically how each and every column is a string. It can be enclosed in a double quote or a single quote, but this can be anything. It doesn't really matter. Most important is comma. Okay, so I'm going to say OK, and I save this file. So now that I have saved the file, I can add this directory. So now remember, test directory is my working directory. This is what contains all the simulation files, right? So every circuit will be in this file, every control file will be in this file, and similarly, when we run the simulation, the circuit simulator will write the output to this directory also. Okay, so to know the path, just go to the click on the file, go to properties, and you can see the parent folder. This is there in Windows as well as Linux, right? So you just have to copy this, go to the web browser, paste it. So this is my directory, my working directory of the circuit simulator, right? So I just wanted to ask, does anyone have any doubts about what I did? Okay, so once you have completed this form, all right, just have to click on save simulation parameters, and if it saves it successfully, that means there was no error, right? So for example, I'll just show you some basic errors, like for example, like if I put negative, right, this is illegal because you cannot have a negative time duration, right? So if I try to save this now, it will say there are errors in the form. It will not save it, and it will tell you what the error is. It will say time limit must be greater than 0.0, right? And similarly some other stuff. For example, let me put this wrong, right? So let me put a 1 here. This directory does not exist, right? If you come, you see there is a test directory. There is no test1 directory. So now if I try to save the simulation, it will say cannot write into this directory. So therefore the working directory must exist, and the circuit simulator must have the authority to write into the directory. So do not use a protected directory. So again, just to stop, does anyone have any doubts about what I did? Alright, so now let me remove this error, save the simulation. So you see now it has saved successfully. So now that we've done this, let us go and edit our circuit. Okay, this is a very simple circuit, like I said, just something to get started. I'm just going to call this voltage source Vin. This voltage source is a protected word, and this means that you want a voltage source, right? And we'll come to that very soon. Let me put a resistor, because let's give the resistor voltage source some parasitic resistance. So let me call this also Vin, and let me put a resistor here which is a load, and finally let me put a voltmeter here. Let me call this out, voltmeter out. Okay, so this is the output voltage measurement. Now I would like to add this circuit to my simulation. So let me go over to my simulator, go over to the main page. We have completed the first step, edit simulation parameters, right? This is what we've done. The next step is add the circuit file. So what I need to do is I need to choose the file using the web browser, right? So let me go to this new folder that I've created, test, and put the test.csv file, right? Let me call this test circuit and save this file. So you see now the file appears here, and in later simulations we will add several files. So we'll add 2, 3, 4 files. You can add as many as you want, and I'll tell you how you can connect them together also, right? So now once you add the file, you must click on this button, process circuit schematics, right? This will process the circuit, it will detect if there are any errors, and it will create objects for each and every component in the circuit. So let me click on it here, and you see it gives you this error message. Their circuit do not have any detectable errors, right? So for example, let's say I go and make a mistake, right? Let's say I delete one element. When I delete an element, this is illegal. Every branch in the circuit must be complete. So therefore, if I now go and click on process circuit schematics, it tells me, you see, there are following errors in the circuit, right? So now it tells you that there is an error in the circuit. You must fix these errors before you continue. So the error is check branch continuity at 1D in the sheet. So if you go here, you see 1D is where it has found an element. It is not finding an element after that. So this could be anything. It can tell you 1B, it can tell you 1C, but it just means that the branch is broken, right? So if I fix this, now the process circuit schematic button is gone. All you have to do is click on add circuit schematic and bring it back again, because the idea is if there is an error, you should have the chance to add another circuit schematic. So let me click on process circuit schematics, and this time you see there are no errors. So I'll just stop for a minute. Does anyone have any doubt about what I did?
Hey Shiv.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm just curious, maybe we can try something new where you call on someone and ask them to explain in their own words what, because I feel like everybody's being very polite, and I'm just curious, you know, this is really going to be more engaging for everyone if there's participation. So I want to just call someone out and ask them to sort of summarize or kind of process how they interpret it.
I would actually like somebody to be a volunteer rather than actually pulling people out, because as I said, this is rather like an informal session. So what I would say is that it is totally impossible to really have like 100% participation from everyone, and I do understand there may be some people who want to be in the background, which is perfectly okay, but to make these sessions really effective, it would be nice if at least a few people step forward and be a little active.
So let's wait in silence while someone adds a question. We're going to wait. So everyone is an expert, everyone understands everything, everyone, it was completely clear, no problems whatsoever. You're ready to design your next Tesla motor using, Python Power Electronics.
Sir,
what if a spelling error occurs in the system?
Yeah, that is quite normal, and I'll just show you how that works. So like I said, it will pick out most errors. So for example, let me go and mess up the circuit a little. So let's say, for example, let me spell this resistor wrong. Let me call it resistor. Right? So this is a spelling mistake. So if I come back here and I say process circuit schematics, it will give you an error. It will say component at 9A doesn't exist, right? So if you go to 9A, you'll see that this is resistor, that is, this component doesn't exist. So does that solve your problem?
And these are predefined terms, no?
Yes, they
So
are.
where can we find these things? Like a resistor should be written as resistor slash input.
That's actually a very good question. So for this, what I would say is go over to my circuit simulator and go to downloads. Actually, this is not downloads. Let me come all the way here. You need to come to papers, and here there are some documents here. Check out passiveelements.pdf, and this tells you about how you can use passive elements, right? So I will, if you are already using, if you have been a student of my Udemy course, I do have this as an attachment in that course resources. However, if you are not, then you can always download it from here. If not, I will also provide this up here. That's okay. But the way to go is, as I said, this is also an open source software, so you are very welcome to actually even look into it. But of course, for most of you, this will not be the case. But like I said, again, there are different ways in which you can start using. You could start by checking out some of these as well, right? Or you can look through my Udemy course where I start introducing all the components bit by bit.
Is there any particular style of creating the circuit file?
As I said, the only requirement is it has to be a .csv file. That's it.
Okay.
The reason is because a .csv file is a text file. It's a simple, an Excel file is an encrypted Microsoft format.
Oh, so actually in this CSV file you have created like a rectangular kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Why?
Oh yeah, like for example, we can go through, there are several little rules that will come. So for example, you can ask a doubt, for example, what exactly would you like to do, and I'll tell you how you can do it.
You can keep everything in single column, right?
Mhm.
Instead of
No, actually, you are not very audible. Very faint, actually. A bit better, but still quiet. No, not at all. No, very, very faint. Try again. Okay, I believe we've lost him.
Sir, one last question.
Mhm.
This is a very basic question, and I should not be asking it because what has happened with me is that I have heard this term for the first time, that Python power electronics.
Mhm.
Either I know power electronics or I know Python.
Mhm.
So what my thought process was that Python is a coding language which would be used only for the control part of the power electronic circuit.
Mhm.
So what I'm seeing here is like a MATLAB kind of simulation which you are doing.
Yes.
So is it wrong which I am thinking that why Python was used was only for the control purpose, like for controlling the pulses which is given to the switch? I thought that Python codes are written for that. So that is wrong.
Well, it's like this. Python Power Electronics was because this entire circuit simulator is written in Python. That's number one. The idea was that eventually I would use not just core Python, but I would also use NumPy, I would use SciPy, I would use all other different modules together to form a fairly advanced simulator. That is the reason why I called it Python Power Electronics, right? So in general, since it is written in Python, it can execute anything, any kind of control that is related to Python. So for example, you could write your own control, which is like pulse width modulation or something else which is based on Python, or you can actually write, let's say for example, a Fourier analysis, right? You can use Fourier analysis with NumPy arrays, with everything else, or you can use pandas. You can basically use anything that comes with Python. You can just import it in your control file and use everything else. So for example, you can use artificial intelligence or whatever you want, and that is mainly the reason why I called it Python Power Electronics, because I wanted to bring in the power of Python programming into power electronics.
Oh, so sir, can you just for a few minutes show us how this, like you would have done the simulation. So can you from one of your examples show us that how this thing is controlling the switching?
What I mean, what I would suggest to you is, if that is the case, all you have to do is just go over to any of this DC to DC converter lecture series and just pick out any of these things, like for example, analysis of operation of a Chuk converter or something like that. This will tell you everything about how I built. You can just pick out any one case and just go through all of these videos. So this tells you how I start off with the simulation, how I create the circuit, how I add the circuit, how I create the PWM switching, everything.
Okay, so like if we are writing a code in Python, we cannot dump those codes into the DSP or Arduinos, no?
For now, I'm not sure. I think there are some converters already available. From what I do know, there are some compilers which automatically convert C programming can directly be converted to assembly language code. I also believe that some of them have already started compiling Python code to assembly language as well. You might have to look into it. I haven't seen it. I haven't kept in touch with that so far because I'm mainly building the simulation. But from what I do know, there are some compilers now for direct conversion of Python to assembly language.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. I mean, we will, in the course of these video lectures, we will start simulating several things. Like I said, one of the suggestions was that we will do an inverter. Somebody suggested a dual active bridge, so we will start simulating. It's just that I'm almost out of time now, so that's why I'm just taking a few last questions before winding this up.
Let me ask a question. So how is this different from say MATLAB? In MATLAB you have dedicated say toolbox. For example, if you want to bring a solar say inverter or something, you have a dedicated toolbar and you can just drag drop things easily. But how about here? I mean, there's like look under mask option in MATLAB, right? Module inside a module, there will be like complicated diodes and things ready for us to use. So how about we import it from MATLAB here?
No, there is no interface to MATLAB here, because MATLAB, you need to understand, is one of the reasons why I created this software was because I wanted something which is free from licensing requirements. So for example, MATLAB is something which is available if you are in a university. If you are in a university setting, MATLAB is like freely available to you. Most universities have purchased academic licenses, but depending on where you are, not every university has it. And similarly, most important, one of the main reasons why I've been building this is that I wanted to help smaller companies and startups in developing countries, particularly like India and all these countries, startups which cannot afford a MATLAB license, right? So the idea is that you need also, I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but MATLAB is not used much in industry. MATLAB is mainly an academic software. Once you step out of academia, you will not see MATLAB used much. For example, in industry, I spent almost 7-8 years in industry. I have used Plex, I have used PSIM, mainly these two. Sabre is another software, but that is very expensive, very expensive. So usually it is the most popular softwares are things like PSIM or PSCAD or Plex, things like that. MATLAB is typically very limited use outside industry, outside academia.
And what if we are replacing MATLAB?
No, go on.
What if we are replacing the MATLAB system with a LT Spice system? Then how is this system advantageous to the LT Spice?
See, the main advantage of the reason why I'm building Python Power Electronics, I'm not sure about LT Spice. And I've been using, like I said, I've been simulating power electronics for a long time. When you simulate large converter systems, because for example, when I did my PhD, my PhD was on microgrids. I had simulated like 7-8 converters together in a single microgrid. Now, when you have that kind of a system, I could not even do it in MATLAB. MATLAB, first and foremost, it would have to run overnight, sometimes even for several days. And typically at that time, the program would even hang. So which is why I started coding in C++ and Python. The reason is because there was no other way to get my simulations working. Now, the same goes for most other simulation softwares like PSIM and others, that after when your system grows to a certain level, your simulations are now much tougher to run. This is the reason why now in power electronics, if you actually look, there are some cases. I would say just go out to my website, look. I have simulated 4 inverters, 5 inverters, several of these without any problem at all. And that is mainly the reason why I'm using Python Power Electronics to simulate large systems with several converters. Now, if you compare LT Spice and Python Power Electronics in any small converter system, I'm not sure how they would behave. Maybe LT Spice might be faster, maybe something else, I'm not sure. The main reason for using Python Power Electronics is towards large mega systems, because that is my main interest, like wind farms, solar farms, things like that. I don't know, does that solve your doubt?
Yes, sir.
So again, the main thing is that Python Power Electronics is an open source software, and one of the reasons why I kept it open source is that it is open for development. So when somebody comes up to me and asks me, oh, but why not integrate with LT Spice? Well, if you would like to do it, by all means go ahead and start that project, fork out of this and start that project. But a person, like for example, when I started building this project, I had to choose something as a platform and just keep building on that. So which is why it is what it is now. But that doesn't mean this is final. It's free and open source, it's free to use, free to develop. Of course, if you do develop, there is an open source license, so you need to sort of acknowledge that it came out of Python Power Electronics. But otherwise, there is free to, as far as I know, there is already a circuit optimization software by a team in Kerala who is actually using Python Power Electronics. So that has already started. Somebody is using this as a platform to build another more advanced software. So that's already starting. So things like this are always welcome. So I mean, I've already shot over my time. So what I would like to do is, unless there is any specific question now, I would like to end this session. In the next week, we will continue with this. We'll start with we'll just finish off this basic circuit that we simulated just to get started. But otherwise, I will pick a single H-bridge inverter as a first topic. So let's build an H-bridge inverter. Let's do the pulse width modulation for that, and let's figure out how we can interface it with the grid. Would everyone find that interesting?
Yes, sir, but for now, like you have made the circuit, so can you show us how the circuit is running?
The reason I would like to sort of think about it. Okay, let me quickly let me quickly do it, because is it okay if I take another 15 minutes?
Fine by me.
Okay, for everyone else. Okay, so let me quickly get this done. I'll share my screen again. So let me go and fix this error. So it's resistor back again, and let me go and bring back the process circuit schematic button. Click on it, and you see now it doesn't have any detectable errors. So let me go back to the main page. The next thing we have to do is we need to edit the circuit parameters, right? So here, if you come, you'll see the circuit, which is test.csv. So you can view the components, and here you see all the components are listed. Now the components have default values, right? So let me just quickly edit it. The load resistance can remain 100 ohm, or maybe I can change it. You click on edit parameters, and you can change the value. So this is in ohms, so this is 10 ohms. So we save the value. Now the resistor Vin, if you look, this is a parasitic resistance, so let's decrease this value. It's 100 ohms right now, that's way too much. So let's make this 10 milliohm. Now the voltage source, I have chosen a 120 volt 60 hertz voltage source. Now let me go and put this in the Indian terms, since most of you are in India. So you have a 240 volt system, which is RMS. A 240 volt RMS corresponds to something like 311 volts peak, and in India there's a 50 hertz frequency, right? Now since I'm in Germany, these are also very similar values. Now the next thing is the phase angle and the DC offset. We don't need a DC offset, the phase angle can be 0, right? Now the component position is at 4A. Let's go back here and check. The component is at 4A. The positive polarity therefore should be upwards. At least we would like it to be. You can also have it downwards, no problem. Which is what it is. So we just can save the parameters. And the last one is the voltmeter, right? So the voltmeter has a few parameters. It has what is called as a rated voltage. Now the rated voltage is basically an indication of how much is your system voltage, right? The reason is because a voltmeter draws a minimal current so that it does not disturb the circuit. This minimal current is drawn with respect to the voltage level of the system. So therefore, if we have a 240 volt system, we can just put 1000 volts. This guarantees that the voltmeter draws a minimal current and it does not disturb the circuit, right? So now the positive polarity, the component position is at 8i. So let's go back here. You see, is at 8i. We would want the positive polarity to be upwards. So this is what it is. It is 7i, so it can remain the same. So let me save this. Was somebody asking a doubt? All right. So now that we've edited the circuit parameters, if you have controls, you can edit control, and I'll show you how you can edit control in the next few lectures. But we can go to view output, right? Now to run the simulation, you have to click on this run button, right? Now it will say the simulation is running, and you can click on the stop button to stop it, but always go to the command line and check if you see any errors. This is particularly the case when you have control, because when you have control, you could have made a syntax error or some other error, and that will show up here in the command line, right? So since there is no error, it means the simulation is running. Now we can create plots. So let's add a plot. So let me call this voltage plot, because we want to measure the voltage. Now it is important to understand that any meter in the circuit can be plotted in a waveform. Besides this, you can also plot some control variables, and I'll talk about that soon when we get to control. So let me start the plot. Let me call this voltage plot, and here you see there is this form. Now the waveform source indicates what is the source of this waveform, which is the input that feeds this waveform. There is only one meter in the circuit, right? So therefore only this meter appears in the waveform. So we can just choose it, and let's say call it V, this waveform legend will appear in the plot because you need to name each and every waveform. The scaling factor is if you want to magnify it or you want to attenuate it. You must save the waveform and then it appears in the plot title. So this is a plot and this is the waveform which has been added to it. So with this we are done. So let's click on plot button. So you see the plot has been generated. We go to the waveform, go to the folder, and you see there is now a voltage plot. See, this is the voltage which has been generated. So you can zoom into it. Let me zoom in between, let's say 0.4 and 0.5. So you see there is an X zoom, there is a Y zoom. So if I say 0.4 to 0.5, I can plot it and you will get a zoomed in plot. So now you see this is the new voltage plot and you see it is zoomed, it's a sinusoid of 50 Hertz. You can actually verify it's between 0.42 to 0.44. So if you just zoom in and you see it's around 311 volts. So we have generated a 240 volt sinusoid. So again, does this solve your doubt or would you have any other? If of course you want a more complex simulation, this will have to wait until the next session because we are already a bit out of time. It must be late in India as it is.
Yes, and transient analysis are also shown in this.
No, as in you mean like small signal AC analysis? No, that is not possible.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, that is not possible with this. This is mainly a simulation software to verify control. So this is like the final, and like I said, the main thing, and as we go on, we'll see the main advantage of this is you can verify large scale simulation with several converters. That is the main objection.
Yes, but like for very complex, not complex, but circuits in which very big errors should not happen, like chips and all of the CPU. In that, we won't be. I'm not sure if we will be able to use this system or not. I don't know because there the transient analysis is a major aspect because they find the quiescent point whether the system is over damping or not. So would that be shown in this?
No. Those, I think those are very different kind of simulations. You need to understand is that those are more like analog circuit simulators. So in analog circuit simulators, you would need not just to simulate the transient performance, but you would also need to simulate things like, for example, what is the gain, what is the small signal gain between a particular input and a particular output, and even like things like you said in CPUs and things like that. So those simulations are very different. This is a hardcore power electronics simulation where where typically this is not really needed. So that's not possible here. At least I have not felt the need also to do that. If what you suggest is something which I would be talking about maybe much later, and that is closed loop stability. In closed loop stability, we can, but not using Python power electronics, using Python, we can assess the stability of a particular system. Now, just to break here, but as I said, I do have a Udemy course on digital signal processing where I use Python to design digital filters. So you can use Python for these purposes as well. It's just that not with Python power electronics hardcore. Actually not, again very faint only. I'm sorry, it's not very audible. Okay, I would suggest that maybe next time try out a microphone before you join. It would be good to hear your feedback. So I think I've already taken quite a bit of time. Now I would like to wind up this lecture, and maybe in the next session we will continue. We've already simulated this, so we can just start off with the inverter straight away. So as I said before, I will be editing the description of this video with a Google group link. Feel free to add your email ID, or rather it's a Google form link. Feel free to add your ID to that Google form so that I can send you an invite and we can join, so that you can have discussions offline. Other than that, you're always welcome to suggest a converter topology that we can start off with. The H-bridge is just one suggestion. We can do something else as well. So just to close this, I would say that if you have any last few comments, please do add them. Otherwise, we will see next week. The recording of this video will be uploaded on YouTube, and you're welcome to subscribe to the YouTube channel to receive updates. Alright, so thank you everyone for joining. Goodbye for now. I will see everyone next week. So good night everyone. Bye bye.